Got some guys coming across. That one placed well. It's Sheldon with a good block from Palmer, and we are gone. A little bit of a play across the middle. That's going to be Dennard for the touchdown here. Need a good push up front. It's Batty powering through. So we might need to rotate him out. He might not be ready, and it might have just cost us this game. And after the first 6 weeks, we would still be looking for our first win. And right now, the Chargers are 4-2 atop our division. But if we could just turn things around a little bit, we could definitely find our way there. Can we find a touchdown at least? We give up a touchdown, and no, we cannot. It's a big loss against the Chargers, so I think we got to start getting through this season a little bit quicker. And we would finally get our first win very late on in the season in an upset on the Pittsburgh Steelers. And a couple weeks later, we would get another upset win, 21-14 over the Chargers. 3rd and 6, pass rush freezes quite literally, and we throw a touchdown. Late season win on the line, out for Alberto, and it's tipped away. That will do it. And it all comes down to this. Season 5, as we start wrapping out season 4 with a Miami Dolphins Super Bowl win. 34-31 over the Dallas Cowboys. It's their 3rd Super Bowl with Justin Herbert as their MVP. You can see the yearly awards over on the right-hand side. We really weren't in the running for any of these. We did have one Pro Bowler, and that was Ragnow at center. But besides that, it was another very disappointing year. But we have a lot of work to do this time in the draft, the offseason part of this video, and then one final go for a Super Bowl or even a single postseason appearance. Would be an improvement on what has been a pretty bad, to be honest, kind of series here, where I think we've won a total of 6, maybe 7 games through 4 seasons. Offense has been disjointed, defense has been the same, so let's try to get that fixed. But of course, as is tradition, we will be losing another offensive lineman to retirement. This time, Connor McGovern. He calls it done after 11 seasons. So that's making our offensive line a little bit thinner. And on top of that, we have some big free agent or closed free agent signings we need to make. Dre Greenlaw, Frank Ragnow, Stromberg even. We've got some work to do in just keeping some of our own players, and unfortunately a lot of these guys, they don't have a whole lot of interest, so we're gonna have to see what we can do, offer up a good amount of money, as again, it's one final year. And Greenlaw, he's looking for about 15 mil per season. We have almost 150 mil in cap, so we could definitely pay a little bit extra, because like I said, this is the last and final season. So we'll boost up these numbers. Let's tack on a 4th year, just because why not? We'll make that offer, and he'll take the money. As for our only Pro Bowler from the last season in Frank Ragnow, he's looking also for around that 15, and again, we're going to boost up these numbers. One final year, I don't want to have to worry about these guys leaving, so boost up the numbers, 3-year deal, why not? But even with that, Ragnow is considering testing free agents, and I say considering, because he was looking for what? That was about 15 mil. And it would be cheaper to put him on a 1-year franchise tag. So that's most likely what we're going to do with him. We also need to re-sign Stromberg, who we tried to sign in free agency last time. Ended up having to actually trade for him after he decided to go to the Ravens. So once again, we're going to boost up these numbers, make it 8 mil per season, which is near double what he was looking for. Put in that offer, and he will return. Now, luckily, this one shouldn't be as difficult with Hunter Henry. He does have some interest in returning, but again, we're going to have to pay a little bit more for these guys considering how poor we have been throughout. 2-year deal. He loves it. Now, we'll also need to put in an offer here for our backup tight end in Albert O. Hasn't really got much playing time since we brought in Hunter Henry, but still would like to keep him around, and he will also stay around. Now, one player who's seen a lot of regression throughout this series is Wise. He's down to a 70 overall. Still would want to keep him around, though. We'll offer him a little deal here, see if he will keep it, and he will. And honestly, you could say the very same thing here for Malik Collins. So we'll raise up the numbers a little bit. Whether he's in the starting lineup, who knows? Depends on what happens this offseason. We'll put in that offer, and he will return as well. Now we have two more signings I would like to make. Dwight Campbell would like to keep our kicker, well, punter turned kicker around. He did pretty well. One of our best kickers we've had in this series. We'll put in that offer. He loves it. And lastly, trying to keep the rookie, now second-year fullback in Gonzalez. Didn't get as much playing time last year because we had Yanovich, but we're going to go with the now higher overall fullback. Put in a decent offer here. He likes it, and that will close out the offers. And we will go ahead and franchise tag Ragnow. Ends up being a cheaper deal for us, so it works. Some of these guys we are not bringing back right now, though will probably end up coming back to us in open free agency or maybe even post-draft. And very much quite opposite to the last couple off seasons, we're going pretty light in open free agency. We only brought in Isaiah McGuire, a new player for us, and did bring back Donovan Bowens, a backup, maybe even starter offensive lineman. We'll see when we get to the end of the off season. But this really shifts our focus towards the draft, which I feel like is going to have a bigger impact for us. And for the first time this series, we've finally been given an actual good draft class full of guys we could go after, 13, most of which are draftable. Now, we did talk about Hazleton a little bit last episode. In fact, that he could come in and maybe take over our starting quarterback spot. However, he has dropped a lot throughout the season. When we first started, he was around 1 to 2 projection. Later on in the season, he actually dropped to around 2 to 3. Now we're seeing the true talent is around 3 to 4. So is he going to be able to come in and do much of anything for our offense outside of providing some mobility? Hard to say. We haven't seen Bryant lead our team yet, and he's had quite a few different years to try to take claim, and it leaves us probably still needing to pick him up, but we no longer need 2 first-round picks. As of right now, there are 2 true round 1 selections we could go after, and one is a power back in Nick Roberson, who's actually around 3 to 4 projection. True talent is that round 1. He's 6'1", 223, 21 years old, out of Nebraska. He has an actual pretty decent 40, a 4.48 to 4.44, considering he is that power back. All looks pretty good outside the 20-yard shuttle. Nothing all too impressive, but the skill set does look really good with A, ball carrier vision, break tackle, and carrying. Catching is a B. This is kind of the power back with hands that I've been looking for, more for the Panthers franchise to team with Hubbard, but still, I would take it here. Not going to have as polished of juke or spin moves, but he could run over some dudes. And if he could help us out there, that's great. He is injury prone. That is an F, which is probably what took him down to that projected 3 to 4. Outside of him, we do still have a couple other options for the offense, and that's going to be in the receivers. Some more mid to late round guys. Victor Weaver has some intrigue. We talked a little bit about him last time, just not a very polished route runner. Doesn't have much release. Then you have Joseph Sawyer, who might have the potential for a little bit of some release. He's a playmaker type at 6'3", 204. It's a pretty good size. Then there is Kenya Barnett, who's a shorter guy, still a playmaker, and has a little bit, at least for sure, release, with it being a C. There's a potential undrafted tight end who might have some intriguing hands, just not going to come with much of any sort of run blocking. Then shift to the defensive side. For the defensive line, there is Jamal Downing and Terrence Saunders. Both are depth guys, and both are pretty much exactly the same as their top 4 are exactly the same. Now, we could use some depth for that group, maybe some rotation, so we'll still probably try to go after some of these guys. There is a pass cover outside linebacker, and sure, the zone says A. I just don't trust that for outside backers. However, there is an outside backer who's an edge rusher, and I'd be more intrigued with him, and Dante Hopkins at 6'2", 253. Some guys for the outside. He's got some strength to his game, some good speed, and he has B power moves and block shed. Doesn't have at least as polished finesse, but it's still relatively close. And his injury is a B to a C, so not as injury prone, but not great. And then lastly, we have Brian Lowry, which will probably be our top draftee here, as he is a safety. We need help at safety. He's 6'1", 205, 22 years old, a zone type out of Missouri. He's not extremely fast, but overall a pretty solid athlete. He has the zone, not much man, so definitely going to be a roaming free safety, which is more of my archetype for free safety. Maybe even can blitz him a little bit. A injury, so he's going to be very durable, good tackle. All in all, I think he's definitely someone who's going to be a day one starter, and we might find several day one starters in this draft class. And as it stands right now, we have the second pick in this draft, so we might be able to drop back a little bit, pick up some mid-round picks or maybe even another second-round pick to get Lowry. We do have that second. We, however, do not have a third or a four, but we have every other draft pick down here that we could use to load up as much as possible, considering this is the last and final season. And for us, right now at least, our top prospect in Lowry, they don't expect him to be going until the 31st pick, so we could really drop in this first round. Should still be able to pick up our guy and hopefully pick up a few extra guys because we could drop a good distance. So let's get into the draft and start moving around. Now again, as mentioned, we pick second, so just to make sure nothing goes completely insane, the first pick in this draft, Cincinnati Bengals, they select quarterback Corey Warner out of Pittsburgh. So now let's see what our options are. Again, they expect him to go around the 31st, so we could pretty much drop well. And right now, Bears, they're offering the 8th pick, plus we would get their second and then a future 4. The future not going to quite help us as much. And for what we're really looking for, the Lions, they're giving us the best option, which would be for us drop to the 12th overall, plus we would pick up their second and their third. Again, we don't have a third and fourth, so we'll get back into the third round there. Have 2 second-round picks. I'm thinking the quarterback and the running back there. This is probably the best option for us, and it's not going to be as costly, or concerning at least, as the next best option, which was the Packers, as we would get there first, but we'd have to drop back to 26, getting a little bit too close to that 31 spot. So let's make the trade here with the Lions. Again, our guy should not go until the 31st selection. Fingers crossed I'm to move forward, and if Lowry goes, then we'll be coming back. And all is good. We get to our pick, so now we could go ahead and make sure that we get our guy. If we need to trade up to ensure we get someone else, then we can, but I definitely do not want to miss our top guy. So safety Brian Lowry. Again, he's probably going to be playing a roaming free for us. He's a round 1 true talent. We're sitting right in the middle of the round, so it's where he should go. He's a hidden dev with 89 speed and acceleration, 85 agility, 84 change of direction, and jumping. Now from here, we don't pick till the second spot in the second round, and again, none of our guys should really be going before then, so let's jump to that pick, and we'll probably take the safer option there and go with our quarterback. Again, he should be there. Just want to make sure we have that option at quarterback. Drew Lock is not it. Bryant has not been it. So let's go after a quarterback. We then have that 12th spot in the second round, in which I want to go after Roberson. And then from there, might be a little bit of some BPA. We could get some help for the receiving group, or we could probably go after the pass rusher first in Dante Hopkins in the third round. As long as he's still there, maybe we do have to trade up. We will see, but for now, we're going to go with the quarterback in Josh Hazelton. It is an overdraft because we know the true talent, but we need some help there. So let's bring in Hazelton. He is another normal dev. I expected that much. With 88 throw power, 86 speed, and 88 acceleration with 87 agility, 92 change of direction, 84 jumping. Does he get the start? Not sure, but we at least have competition. And from there, we do get to the second pick in the second round, and I went through one by one, and our guy did not go. So nothing real crazy out the top here. We've been able to go after all the guys we want. Nick Roberson is coming in. Where does that leave Traylon Burks, as we did move into running back last time? Well, he might be going back to receiver, as we have ourselves a hidden dev running back with 90 speed, 93 acceleration, 87 agility, and 80 change of direction and jumping. And once again, smooth sailing to our third round pick. We might have to move back up after this one if we want to go after any of the other guys. But with this spot, I do want to go after edge rush, and is a need of ours. And we know what Dante Hopkins has. He has speed. He has some power. He has the power moves. He has the block shedding. He's going to play an edge rusher, a left or right end, as we have switched to the 4-3, although We might be able to switch to a 3-4 as well. We didn't do great defensively last year either. Either way, it's going to be Hopkins here, who's a normal dev with 79 speed, 78 strength, and 90 acceleration. And following that pick again, we do not have a pick in the 4th round. We have a 5, 6, and a 7, so some day 3s. And of the remaining talent, I really don't feel like there's anyone that we must have that would make a key difference for us. We could go after a little bit of help for some of the receivers, but we're getting Treylon Burks back with that spot. So I don't think we necessarily have to go after any of these guys. So we are going to have a lot of trades that we can make maybe after, if there's even anyone for us to go after. I think we just skip to our next pick here and go BPA. And now that would end up costing us the top receiver and the linebacker who maybe had some good zone coverage, but don't trust it at the outside. So what we have left here, again, the 5, 6, and 7, we have one of the defensive linemen remaining. We have a running back potential undrafted, a couple day 3 receivers. So I think we go Saunders here because we do need some depth help for us for the defensive line. He's a big boy at 6'4", 320, so going to slot in at DT. He's got some good strength, number 1 in the class. He's just not very polished, but we could definitely use some help. He at least has the power moves and a little bit of some block shed, so Saunders is in. He's a normal dev with 92 strength, 83 acceleration, and 67 speed. Now in the 6th round, we have 2 receivers we could go after. Not too sure how impactful they would be. So Sawyer is 6'3", 204, he's 24 years old. He's got some decent speed, overall a pretty decent athlete. He's quick and agile, that's for sure. However, the route running, not very polished. The hands, not very polished either. As for Kenya Barnett, the other receiver, he's 5'9", 187, 23 years old, out of Southern Arkansas. A little bit faster, pretty outside of the bench reps, a pretty good athlete. His skill set maybe has some deep route running ability, hands a little bit better, does have some release. I don't think he would be a starter, but maybe a rotational player. And the only other option that I'm seeing for us to go after here is maybe another running back in Frank Edwards. We don't know all of the true ratings for him, but again, he's a pretty good athlete, and he has, for the most part, some pretty decent ranges. A to C ball carrier vision, the same as awareness. B break tackle, B to D carrying. So there's a good variance. We don't quite know. Just seems like he could be a pretty good all-around backup, but he might be available with our 7th round pick. So let's try to take the possibly better route here, and let's go with Kenya Barnett, get ourselves a depth receiver who's a hidden dev. All right, that'll work out for us. 92 speed, 98 acceleration, so dude can fly with some good agility, change of direction. Yeah, he's exactly who we thought he was going to be from the athletic standpoint. And as for our final draftee of this series, well, we do not have that other running back as an option. So it comes down to tight end versus the receiver we looked at. Now, we did not look much at Redding. He's 6'6", 253, 23 years old, out of Arkansas. Overall speed, not bad, has some decent strength. Overall, a really good athlete for the tight end spot. We just know he's not much of a run blocker. He's a pure receiving threat. Do we change up the offense, spread wide? If we go with a new quarterback, kind of run a style similar to the Cardinals, perhaps, that could be an option. So let's go after a spot we haven't really drafted much at all in this series. Actually, I think at all in this series. Let's go after James Redding. He is a normal dev with 78 speed, a little bit slower than I expected there, with 82 acceleration and agility. Either way is going to be some depth here for us. And overall, except for Redding, unfortunately, this is actually a pretty good draft class here for us. So Brian Lowry, we'll start with him. He's a 76, getting the boost from the coaches. Gonna change the number, not a big fan of 40, but he's gonna come in with good zone coverage. Man isn't awful. Good hit power, awareness. Okay, I mean, overall, I think he's gonna be a really good safety for us and the highest rated safety that we have for that roaming safety, zone safety style. As for the quarterback in Josh Hazelton, he's a 71 with a coaching boost. The accuracies, they're not that great. We're going to have to compare him very much to Bryant, who's had several years to try to improve. And we'll see which one of these two really decides to play well, or even okay. But we did find a pretty solid starter here in Nick Roberson, who is a 75 hidden dev, and he's coming in with pretty good break, tackle, carrying, looking really solid. The juke, spin, and trucking all pretty similar. He's going to be a very balanced back, and the injury for him is a 79, so it's a little bit concerning, but we have at least a good rotation for that spot. Now for the edge rusher here in Dante Hopkins, listed at right outside backer, he's a 66. Though if we change him to an edge rusher, or I should say pure edge rusher, he actually goes up to a 67. So a slight increase for him. The power moves are at a 71, block shed a 74. Doesn't look dominant by any means, but he should provide some depth, maybe a little bit of some rotation. Now, as for Terrence Saunders, who is most likely going to actually be playing DT, he has 65 for the power, 70 for block shed. So the power not as good as we were hoping, but is going to be a depth, maybe even rotational again guy for the DT spot. So let's just see again if that overall changes at DT. And that it very much does, with the coaching boost up to a 72. So a good jump for him. He's seeing the block shed go up as well. Overall, really solid there, and with that, he might actually find himself working into the starting lineup. Now, as for the speedster in Kenya Barnett, he is a 69. The surprise hidden dev here late on. We might need to use him in some specialized packages, maybe some jet sweep action. The release, short route running and deep route running aren't all too bad. Hands, a little bit of a concern at times, but at worst, he's going to be a kick returner for us. Now, the one that ends up being a little bit of a letdown and the opposite of everyone else that we drafted is James Redding. Only a 60 overall, will probably be practice squad. He's not going to help us in the run game, and the hands and speed weren't as good as it was leading us on to believe. But we did bring in a good overall group of talent here. Now we just have to get them lined up, sorted out, decide on a quarterback, and go one more time for at least a postseason berth. And now for the final time, the opening day lineup. Once again, the offensive line, for the most part the same, but due to the retiree that we had, Nick Gates now steps into the starting lineup. It's a weak left side of the line. Potentially, if we continue to see some problems there, maybe I switch Juergens and Froholt. That's an option. But I checked everyone from a 70 all the way up, and there are no other options for us. For this starting offensive line, we do have a couple close overall for the backups in Borum and Bowens, but they're not quite good enough to take over that spot. It's still Hunter Henry at tight end with Albert O and Stoll. Receivers is still going to be, well, now back to Traylon Burks as number 1, and then Palmer number 2, though we're still going to see a lot of Sheldon and Dennard. And we are sticking with Bryant at quarterback, because if you look at the ratings, he's just the much better quarterback. The accuracies are really good. Whether we see him play that way, who knows? We're also going to try some different playbooks this year, but we're going to give him the start. If he does not perform and it's a bad first quarter of the season, we could put in the rookie. Speaking though of rookies, Roberson is going to be the primary running back, as well as being our third down back and power back. He's just going to be the guy for us this year. If he struggles, well, Tyler Batty has shown good signs, as well as Andrews and Roundtree. So I like the running back group. We're probably going to see a continuing pretty good rotation there. As for the defense, again, not a whole lot of change. The only real change comes down to the defensive line, where McGuire is starting at left end. Saunders, the rookie DT, is also going to be getting the start at DT2. Next to Watts, however, he will not be one of our DT rushers. That will be Malik Collins. Dawson continuing the start over on the right-hand side. The outside corners, Taylor Britt and Jacobs with Evans and the nickel. Lowry, of course, is going to be our starter at free with Curl at strong. And the inside linebacker group is Stevens, Greenlaw, and Sanders will remain. And for another one of the rookies, Barnett, he's going to be our kicker and punt returners this year. It's a slightly improved group. Hopefully, we'll see some good play finally. And As mentioned, we are going to be using some different playbooks. Offensively, we're going to try New Orleans because they use both the zone and power runs. I feel like that would fit our running backs who are both the elusive and power. And then the throwing is frequent screens and short passes. Not going to be using a lot of play action. That should help out on the sacks, hopefully. Get the ball out to our receivers, who most of them are playmakers. On the screens, maybe that will just help out. As for the defense, we're switching to the Buffalo Bills defense, as we have had one of the worst defenses the last couple of years. Only a couple wins a season with the 49ers playbook. We're still sticking with the 4-3. Maybe this helps out. Maybe it doesn't. Who knows? But either way, we had to try something different. So we're trying something different. And because of those slow starts we've had the last few seasons, we're going to start off by getting through the first few games. Before we jump in, we need these to be wins, and we need to see what kind of season we're starting off with and whether we need to make some adjustments. So let's get this season rolling. And in week 1, we would pull off the victory, 7.22 to 15. However, despite only giving up 15 points, we also gave up 404 yards, so not all too promising. But at least one thing that is promising, turnovers, 0. It's a great start to the year. However, in the following 3 games, we would not be able to pull off another win. And none of these games particularly close. All of these are a 2-score loss. And all of these are the defense just not playing well. We're at least scoring more on average than we did last year. So there's improvement from the offense. But what kind of changes can we make? Well, right now the offense still dead last in total yardage. Defense, they're not even ranking, so not much of a help there. But for the offense, it is not Bryant's fault entirely. The completion percentage is still really low at 58%. However, 6 touchdowns, no interceptions. So he's not turning the ball over. His QB rating is at 104. In a way, this kind of reminds me of like a great value Kirk Cousins in a way. You know, good stats outside the completion percentage, but the team is not quite winning. As for the rushing game, it's been a pretty solid start for Nick Roberson. 4 yards per carry. He's splitting a little bit of time, but not really actually that much. It doesn't actually seem like we're running as much as I would hope. It's about 12 carries per game for him, though Bryant is running a good bit more. Not quite sure why, but he's actually not doing that bad of a job of it. Does have a rushing touchdown, no fumbles, and Roberson does have 3 rushing touchdowns. So all in all, not too bad. Palmer's even had a rushing touchdown. Receiving wise, Sheldon, 2 touchdowns, 3 for Palmer and 1 for Hunter Henry. Burks, solid, but nothing really fantastic from him. As top of that, Nick Roberson, also another 100 yards via the air. The offensive line, how are we looking here? Not fantastic, but I've seen a worse from this team. Froholt not doing all too bad out the gate, about half a sack a game. Same for Jurgens. Stromberg, pretty solid. Ragnow is doing fantastic. Gates is struggling. How about the defense? That's the side that really seems to be struggling. In terms of tackles for a loss, I mean, we're getting in the backfield a little bit. Sack-wise, honestly, not too bad compared to what we had last year. So we're seeing some improvement. It's just clearly we're giving up too many plays, and we do have a pretty weak defensive line. Kicking-wise, a great start from Campbell, but only 1 field goal attempt in 4 weeks is a little bit light. So we're just not quite getting to his range, which he doesn't have a great range. But he's the best kicker we have available for us. So I don't think there's really anything we can change here. We just need the defense to start playing a little bit better. And it's not like we could sit around and wait much longer, as the Chargers are 3-0 to start their season. The Broncos 2-2, so outside of the Chargers, everything is really close. We need to bring in some wins, and our next opponent might be one with which we could do that against. In week 5, we have the 0-4 Minnesota Vikings, though they have a very good defense, 89 overall, but their rankings are actually better on the offensive side. So this is an intriguing team that very much doesn't have things sorted out. Neither quite do we. And we need to see some warm-up action before our Week 7 game against the Chargers. We got two NFC North teams to get us ready. So let's jump into a quarter sim here. Probably sim through the full game, maybe a little bit of the fourth quarter, kind of depending, against the Vikings. And hopefully get things in the right direction. Now this is an away game at one of the most beautiful stadiums in the NFL. We give up a touchdown. It looks like they were driving as the second quarter arrives. Get through it towards half. They do take a 2-score lead, but we march down the field, just manage a field goal, get a second field goal. However, we give up a touchdown before half. So the offense, they're moving, they're just not finishing. 21-6, we get another field goal. We give up a field goal. We hit the fourth quarter. It is 24-9. So let's get to the end of this one as we're down multiple possessions. Widen that even more. Our offense has not moved at all in the fourth quarter, and it's a big win for the Minnesota Vikings. Maybe it's time we just see what happens if we put in the rookie quarterback. And it would not be the outcome we were hoping for. 2 straight losses against the NFC North team, leaving us down big in the first half, 34-17, and it was not quite what we were hoping for either from Josh Hazelton. He threw for over 250, his completion percentage higher than what we've seen for most of the time from Bryant. However, it's a 2-interception day. He was sacked 3 times. He was able to do much rushing the ball at all? Not really. And us rushing the ball, not great. Bijan Robinson did really well against us. Even their backup and Tommy Stewart, a rookie, did well against us. It was a good game for Treylon Burks, but not at all what we needed. We've now dropped to 1-5, facing in Week 7 our rivals in the Chargers, who are 4-1, sitting atop the division. The Broncos and the Raiders, they've just had 2 wins up to this point. We face them the next 2 weeks following this. So this is a big stretch of games, and we need some big play if we were to see the season turn itself around. So I think we put Bryant back in the starting spot. Let's see what this team can do. And we're going to start this one with a little bit of a quarter sim as well. Get the game underway as the first quarter ends 7-0. We'll get to the second half. See how we're sitting there as we get down the field, but again, just get the field goal, then 2 quick scores. We get another field goal and give up a field goal. Sitting now down 24-6 as we enter the second half. Well, let's slow it down as we get into it. We need this offense to finally put together a decent drive, but unfortunately, it's going to be the Chargers to start out on offense. 1st and 10, well, we'll take the penalty for sure. Miners will back them up by 10, leave 1st and 20. Then a throw away from Dak, 2nd and 20, 4 to Mitchell. 3rd and long, and we nearly give it up, but we hold strong, barely. Again, 4th and 3, they do punt it away. It's a penalty there at the end, so we start. No, it's actually a penalty that gives them a 1st down. Even better, as they're now into plus territory. I don't know if this team really wants to win. We hold them again on 3rd, but we give it up on 4th down. They go to the fullback, giving them a fresh set of downs as they continue moving down the field. We give up a 3rd down, not a 4th down that time. They're down inside the 15, and they're inside the end zone, making it 30-6. Not much of a chance that we could really get things going as we have a quick punt there. Just offense is not coming together. I don't think we have the guys, the offensive line, defensive line, the trench play is not good with this team. We do pick up a big play, but we just can't keep the offense going, and it is 38-6 as we continue to let this one roll. And that was just a bad start to the divisional play that would at least see some positive as we would go against the Raiders the next game and pick up a 21-19 victory. However, against the Broncos, we would lose 34-14. And then in a non-divisional game, 38-17, putting us right back into the same divisional stretch. Chargers, Raiders, Broncos, then our bye, then finishing off the season against all non-divisional opponents. Right now with 2 wins, it's hard to say that we have a shot. If we could somehow manage to get the win in these next 3 games, then that gives us a fighting chance in the last quarter of the season. But clearly the offense still struggling as we're 31st in the NFL in defense. We've improved. We're now ranked. It's just 32nd. So there is not much we could do to really try to add anything. Khalid Bryant, well, he started with 6 touchdowns, no interceptions. He's added 4 more touchdowns, 5 interceptions. His completion percentage is still sub 50 or sub 60, closer to 55. His rating is now dropped. Hazelton, we gave him a chance. And while we saw better completion percentage, we saw more turnover. Rushing wise, Roberson is still doing all right. 3.5 yards a carry. Batty sitting around the same, even with Bryant scrambling around. We haven't really had any fumbles outside of one from Palmer, but the offense is just not moving the ball. So what we could try is another new playbook here, see if that sparks something, and defensively, maybe try to shift some guys around. Sack-wise, we're doing about as well as we can with the offensive line we have. Go over to the defense real quick just to check. Tackles for a loss, Watts 6, Dawson 6 or 5 for Greenlaw, as well as McGuire. So we're not really getting much from some of our starters out there, but we could definitely try to do some rotation. McGuire does lead us in sacks, 3.5 this year. Interceptions, we've had 4, 2 for Jacobs, 1 for Sanders and Taylor Britt. Kicking wise, we've missed a couple field goals, but we're taking a lot more field goals now. So the offense is slightly improving. We're just not getting the ball in the end zone. We're now just getting some field goals. So if we take a look at our individual defensive numbers, right now we're giving up 2,360 passing yards and have given up about 1,550 for rushing. Now, in terms of rushing in total, we are giving up the most in the league. Passing yards, we're giving up actually not the worst, but we definitely seem to be the worst rushing defense. So let's maybe try to shake up the defensive line a little bit. That's the weakest group, and let's see what kind of changes that brings. So nothing major with the changes, but a couple tweaks. So Wharton is going to get this shot over at left end in the base packages over McGuire because he's starting to see a little bit of some morale regression. Meanwhile, Wharton, he's moving up, so maybe just play the hot hand there. As for the DTs, we're moving Watts to that third DT. Going to put Collins back up because, again, morale up for Collins. Meanwhile, morale down for Watts. Saunders still sitting there for the base packages. Dawson, there's no one really rivaling him, so he's having to really stay there. As for the rush guys, we're going to have McGuire come out to the rush left end. Then Watts and Collins are going to be the rush DTs. Then Dawson stays at right. They did move around the DTs a little bit, and by they I mean Madden. And obviously we're leaving McGuire there because, again, no one quite rivaling him. Maybe these subtle tweaks will help out a little bit. We're going to have to find out, and it's going to be once again against the Chargers. So rivalries take 2 as we're going to start off a little bit slower this go around, help try to manage the game, hopefully a little bit more as we do start off with a first down, then we lose 2, 2nd and 12, get back 7, 3rd and 5, it's a throwaway, and already I'm thinking we need to go for it. It's obviously a risk to take this early on, but I think it's something we just need to do considering how bad we have been. Need to keep our drives alive. And if we can, then we might have a chance as we do find Hunter Henry. And with that first down, we actually apparently didn't get the first down. I don't know about that. We all saw very much look like a first down here, but apparently instead it's going to be a 3-play touchdown drive for the Chargers. I don't know. I think Madden just doesn't like the states of Missouri, Arkansas, or Nebraska. As we come out for our second time on offense, 2nd and 5, we get the first down with Bryant scrambling. Going 5 more back to Roberson. Picking up some steady gains here, and then as soon as I say that, it's a shorter gain, leaving us with another 3rd and 5 this time in plus territory. There we go. 25 yards trailing Burks. 6 more get us a first down. We'll jump in, throw away. 3rd and 4, sack. Feel like we need a touchdown, but points will do here. We'll send out the field goal unit. We collect the 3. We've seen us get these field goals, sure, but we need to, one, see the defense get stops. We need to see some touchdowns from our offense. This is a first down on back-to-back plays. Then 4 yards going to Mitchell, 2nd and 6. Another first down to Evans. It's a gain of 11. As we hit the second quarter, throw away from Dak, 2nd and 10. 11 goes to Romeo Doubs. They're close to the red zone now, well inside the red zone, down to the 13. They lose 3, 3rd and 5. Good stop and field goal makes it a touchdown game. Now I kind of want to jump in on this drive and take control. Obviously prefer to have these be primarily sims, but you know, the sims has not been treating us all too well. So let's start spread. Got 3 to the right, 1 to the left, and Bryant just going ahead, tuck, roll, rumble, and fumble. He dove forward instead of sliding. Yeah, it's been a tough one here for sure. And with that, we do give the Chargers the ball once again in plus territory. Not that it's been too hard for them to get down to it themselves. As they convert on 3rd down, back down to the 10. They lose 2, 2nd and goal. They get 1, 3rd and goal, 3. So we hold them to another field goal. We have about 4 minutes left here before half. We could really use with a touchdown this drive. Knocked away by Stone, 3rd and 6. We get 4. We really are risking a lot early on in this game, but of course we are lining up to go for it. Pistol look, got 2 to the right, 1 to the left in Burks. Need the first down. Bryant steps up, holds on to it this time, and let's just keep control of it from here. As we're closing into the 2-minute warning, they shift back the safeties too high. A little bit of some play action, see if we can get someone open right down the sideline. Keep in bounds for Sheldon, and he will. Off to the end zone, barely staying in bounds there, but Denzel Sheldon gets us our first touchdown in a must-win game. But of course, we left a lot of time. We force a throwaway on play 1, 2nd and 10. 0-yard reception for Mitchell, 3rd and 10. Defense holds, leaving us with some time here as we hit the 2-minute warning to get the ball back, though we start deep with 1 timeout. And with that timeout, the clock actually rolls down to about a minute. We're stepping out here with the squad as we are backed up. Need some big plays as we find Sheldon takes a good shot. We could definitely use with at least a field goal before half. Again, the 1 timeout. We don't have the strongest leg with our guy, so we need to get downfield. Need some chunk plays on the move. Diving, it's Sheldon. Let's get back to the line once again. Need to conserve whatever time we can here. Get the ball snapped. Come on, 15 seconds. Need something to the outside. It's Sheldon once again. Call a timeout there with 11 seconds. We're down at the 35. Now, here's the thing. We could take the shot for the end zone. We can't have a turnover. We cannot be sacked. That's all the information we need here. They do have 2 deep safeties. Need some good protection up top. Throw it top for Palmer, but it's too high. 5 seconds. Let's send out the field goal unit from here. It's a pretty good distance for Campbell as well. With the 88 kick power, it's a 52-yarder. This one is up. It's looking true, and it has the power. Probably could have hit that from about 55 is probably his max range. But we level this one up at half. Obviously having to partake a little bit more than what we try to do in this series, but it's season 5, so why not? As we start the second half, Miners with a penalty. 1st and 5, then they get 5 back. 2nd and 10. Okay, throw away, 3rd and 10. They get 10 on the dot, and they give them the first down, unlike us earlier. A little bit of some home field advantage, perhaps. Another 3rd and 10, and 25 goes to Romeo Doubs. Then another throwaway, or at least forcing some throwaways. Another 3rd down. Once again, it's 4th and 1. Do they go with the field goal? Do they go for the first? They hit the field goal. They take a 16-3 lead. All right, offense. Just need a field goal. We know we can march and get field goals. We start with 2 to Roberson. I'm going to keep messing that one up for sure. 3rd and 3, thrown away. But of course, we're continuing to go for these. We've got to have them. A very heavy set here for us. Though it will be a throw. Just need some people to get open. To the opposite side, it's our tight end, but it's swatted away. Probably shouldn't have thrown cross-body on that. Turnover, and they start at the 31. Our defense can at least hold them to a field goal. It's doable as it's 3rd and 9. We give up 12 to Evans. Third downs, we just have not had it. As we have another 3rd and 10, 1 yard, field goal attempt is good. It's now a 6-point game. Touchdown will put us in front by 1. Defense playing their best so far, so perhaps the slight change to the defensive line has worked. So we pick up the first down there with Roberson, then a throwaway on first. Picking up 4 more Roberson, and then an interception. Killer there for us. We at least get a loss of 2, then they get 10. 3rd and 3, math doesn't add up. Throwaway. Do they go for it? No, they take the 2-score lead field goal. We need a good drive here from our offense. Now, while I do typically prefer to have a little bit more running game action, we haven't really had that ability so far in this one. Coming across, we got our guy, it's Palmer, and it's through his hands. This team has all the ability it needs to be successful. They're not doing the little things. They're dropping passes. They're turning the ball over. First off, as Roberson breaks a tackle, spinning off of another. Should have probably stuck underneath his blockers to the right side. Either way, it's an impressive gain of about 7. And that's why I would prefer to have him out there and be a little bit more useful more often. We've just had to keep throwing the ball. As we got our guy coming across, it's caught this time by Sheldon. Let's get back to it. As we're closing out the 3rd quarter here, maybe 1-2 plays left. Honestly, run the same exact play we just ran. Got our guy coming across, and it's jumped by Edmonds. That could have been a costly pick. But it does give us at least 1 more play here this quarter, which we're going to go back to Roberson, who's going to get tackled in the backfield despite all the space to the outside. It's a great play by Stills, and we will head to the 4th. Crunch time has come, and we are down 2 possessions. Though we have the ball here, 3rd and 12, need the play. As we go out to Hunter, Henry with the grab, breaks a tackle, not breaking the second, but that's a big gain. Let's get back to it, because you never quite know if our defense are going to get the stops that they need. 7.5 minutes left here. Really fighting for any chance this season at making the playoffs. It's another diving grab. And once again, we're going to get right back to it. That catch went to Traylon Burks. He's going to go towards the left pylon. Henry towards the right pylon. See if anyone opens up. Bryant trying to scramble here, buy some time, and he'll just tuck and run. Take a couple hits, picking up 4. Now as they play a single high safety, let's see if we could get a little bit of some RPO. Hand it off down the middle, Roberson will pick up the first down that time. Favorable spotting for us. Go right back to some RPO, though this time looking more at the side of Henry. And hand it back off again, down the middle, Roberson, picking up an extra 5. Now, depending on the outside release here, Sheldon maybe towards that back pylon, but have to put it on him high. It's only where he could get it, but he just comes down about half a yard out of bounds. Overall, though, not a bad placement there from Bryant. Leaves us with 3rd and 5. It's 4-down territory. As we hand this one off, it's Batty who needs 4 downs as we get the touchdown we need. Now it just is going to come down to the defense. Can they get us 1 more stop? They've played their best game yet. And we start with a gain of 7 to Evans. First down going to Mitchell. We have about 5 minutes left. 2nd and 9. They get 9. 3rd and inches. They don't gain anything, yet it's a first down. All right, Madden. Apparently you do that new math. 2nd and 6, knocked away Drew Sanders. 3rd and 6, 12 to Romeo Dobbs defense. You got to bow up here. 26 yards, yeah, that's definitely not bowing up. Essentially, this is kind of our fate of our season resting on this game. They're down to the 11 for 1st and 10. They could still get a first down. Hand this one off Mitchell. It's open for him, and they're going to get close to that first down. It's 2nd and 2, and we hit the 2-minute warning. And we could give up the field goal. Touchdown makes this extremely difficult as they hand it off Mitchell looking for a cutback lane. And he does not get the first down. The whistle blown prior to the forward fall leaves 3rd and inches. Could they go back to him here? They will, and it's a touchdown walk-in, and that was a little bit extra from Mitchell. Where's the penalty on that? Well, that does make it a 9-point game, and it's Really looking out of reach here unless we can pop off for some big plays. Or if it would let us snap the ball here, that would be great as well. It's really not letting me do anything. I'm going to have to call a timeout. Thanks. Appreciate it, Madden. It really does not want this challenge to be successful whatsoever. We got 1:51. Now just one timeout remaining. We got to at least snap the ball this time. Coming across the middle, we got our guy at Sheldon. Placed well. See, when we jump in here, our quarterback in Bryant actually looks good. But when we sim, he's just not playing that same way. As we look for our running back, it's just out of reach for Roberson. Really could have used that one. The catch and run there could have been great. We flip the look, 3 to the right-hand side. See if we can get someone to really any open space. Instead, thrown straight at the corner. I was hoping that would be a little bit more upfield instead. That just might be our season. And considering we have no timeouts remaining, it will be a sweep by the Chargers. We have 2 more divisional games and then a handful of non-divisional at the end, and we really need a win streak to come through. And while we would actually see a win streak against the Broncos, a dominant win, squeak one out against both the Packers and the Lions, we really needed all of these wins here at the end. The Chargers, one got away from us. Against the Raiders, we did not have it, only managed a field goal. And then the Steelers, the final say 21-7. So we at least gave it a good go here at the end. But in week 18 against the Eagles, it will be the final game of the Central States Only Challenge. We made it to 5-11 with a win. We could be 6-11, would be our best season yet. But this will be a challenge in which, one, we're going to have another fail in a row. But on top of that, we didn't make the playoffs a single time. The offense and defense never came together. Most of the years, we saw regression rather than progression with guys getting older. You just never really had the luck of the draw from the draft, really until this last and final year. So let's get into the fourth quarter of this Eagles games, watch one more drive from both sides, and then wrap it up. So while obviously it wasn't a great challenge, I would still love to hear who your guys' favorite player was from this series. We had some guys that did pretty well. I think Sheldon was probably our best offensive player. Haven't got to see much of Roberson. If we had him for the full time, maybe he would have been pretty good. But as we hit the second half here, we are down 17-7. Of course, voting day is today. So make sure you head over to the community tab before we're done here. So that way you could vote on who the next state-only challenge is going to be. But as we hit the fourth quarter, let's slow things down a little bit here. See if we can get into plus territory, and if so, then we will jump in. Thrown away, 3rd and 7. There we go, that'll do. You know, I felt like we came up with a lot of good game plans in this series for the rosters, but they just never quite happened. We never really had much of a breakout from anyone. And Bryant, very much just not a great quarterback. We looked at the ratings earlier. The accuracy is impressive. Looked like he really should have been a good quarterback for us, but consistently throwing under 60% completion never is going to help out. Plus, his receivers really don't seem to like to catch the ball either. So honestly, maybe it wasn't even Bryant's fault. Maybe it was the receivers. We just never got guys who wanted to consistently catch the ball. We brought in all the possible receivers we could. That pass, though, that one's on Bryant, as we have ourselves a 4th and 10. So for possibly at least the last time here, let's jump out with this offense. See if we can pick up a first down or if we hand it over to the defense. One last time coming across. We got Dennard who gets the catch. We're down inside the red zone. Let's just keep this thing moving here. See if we could go right back to Dennard, going towards that back left pylon. Though they do have the corner and safety stacked over the top, favoring him for sure. How about lift it up, and it will be a touchdown for Landers. Wide receiver 6 or 7 on the roster will be the final touchdown of the series. Now, how about this defense? We'll jump in at some point around this drive. If they get into plus territory, for sure we'll jump in, and well, yeah, they do that pretty quickly. So let's see if we can at least celebrate the defense as we just got to celebrate the offense there to finish off. It's a 4 front. They hand it off down the middle, and it's some really good blocking, picking up a nice chunk for Williams. And we talked about the offense never really having anyone break out. Defense, very much the same. None of the edge rushers really ever showed out. Some of the higher rated guys towards the beginning really didn't do all too much, as that might be a touchdown right around the edge. Tyler Algier puts this one to bed. But I think both those drives really showed, as Kenyon Barnett gets out there and makes a big play. But I think both those drives really show what this team was. There was potential on offense throughout, and occasionally the guys would make the plays. But ultimately, the team just never really came together and consistently seemed to fail, as we failed to pick up the first down there on 3rd, went for it on 4th, and also come up empty. So that will bring this one to an end, maybe with a garbage time touchdown, not if we lose a bunch of yards. 3rd and 18, a sack by Russo, that will do it. And as we wrap up, it was the best year we had with Bryant and with any of our quarterbacks. He actually had a positive near 2-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio, though the completion percentage still sitting around that 55. And I think, as we saw in that game, it wasn't all on Bryant. I think it was a lot of drops from our receivers, which we tried to rely on the running game. And even with Roberson, we didn't run actually that often. He averaged 3.5 yards a carry, so he was just really a power back. Had 7 touchdowns, but he only had 42 yards a game. And Batty actually split the carries pretty evenly between them, but still nothing really dramatic from him. Khalid Bryant did have 1 rushing touchdown and a fumble this year. But yeah, just nothing ever took off with this offense. Traylon Burks, though, had a really good year, near 1,000 yards going back to receiver, 5 touchdowns. Again, the offense just didn't score. Denzel Sheldon looked good. In the few times we saw him today, he consistently made some plays. He had 900 yards, 6 touchdowns, led us. Palmer had 4 touchdowns, 609. He didn't really do all too much, nor did Hunter Henry this season. As for the blocking, we knew it wasn't going to be good, but it actually was one of our better years from our linemen, though Ragnow, he did not have a great second half of the season. Gave up most of the sacks in that second half. As for the defense, we continually had Greenline, Sanders, well over 100 tackles, yet our defense struggled to stop anybody. And it really wasn't good whether it was running or passing. None of the years were they Pro Bowlers, though, despite, again, the 100-plus tackles. Tackles for a loss, only one guy was in the double digits this year, and it was Caleb Dawson, 11. For some reason, he was just a run stopper for us, despite him having next to no block shedding and having pretty decent finesse moves. Only racked up 2 sacks, which was second, tied for second on the team. 5.5 for McGuire. Wharton had another 2. We never got sacks consistently. Turnovers, while we had the most amount we ever had this season, still it wasn't a regular part of our game. 2 for Sanders, 2 for Jacobs, as well as Taylor Britt, then 1 for Greenlaw, Evans, and the rookie in Lowry. As for kicking, wasn't as good of a year for Campbell, but still better than most of the years that we've had for our kickers. But it was just synonymous with every single year. We had little bits and pieces here and there that looked good, looked promising, try to build around them, and still the team just never quite came together. So the Central State's only challenge, I honestly say, completes as the worst of these state-only challenges, considering, well, the most blatant thing, we never made it to the playoffs. Every other challenge made it to the playoffs for at least one game. We were not able to do that with this team, nor did we ever even get close. The most amount of wins I think we had in the season was this season with 5. So hopefully next go around, whatever one you guys choose, again, over on the community tab, you can go vote right now. So go choose, and hopefully whatever one you guys do choose, they have some playmakers, because we just went through 5 seasons with really not finding a single playmaker. So we'll see what happens next time. To make sure you guys do, hit that bell icon on the bottom right, or scroll down, hit the sub button if you have not already. And while you're down there, if you hit the bell icon to be notified of when these videos go live. This series is every single Wednesday and Saturday, so we'll start a new one on Saturday. You also have the traditional Panthers franchise where we play every single game, normal Madden franchise. That is every single Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. So you guys got 6 videos every single week. We'll see you guys next time as we start a new one. Again, go vote so that way you have a voice in who we choose next.